channel. Today I'm going to be doing a story time of how I missed my entire family holiday because I dislocated my elbow. So if you want to see what happened and how I did that, then just keep watching. Okay, so as a bit of a backstory, my family and I, we snowboard every year. We normally go to France, and on this particular holiday there was me, my sister, my mum and my dad. My mum is a skier, the rest of us are boarders, and my sister's boyfriend's family, which was my sister's boyfriend, his sister, his mum and his dad. Again, his mum is a skier and everybody else is a boarder. So we fly out to France on a Saturday, and so our first day boarding is going to be the Sunday. And on the Saturday night they had a fresh snowfall, so we knew that the first day, which was going to be the Sunday, it was going to be practicing the jumps, playing about, going off piste, going into the woods. So we're not going to pack in the miles this day, we're just going to have a bit of a muck about, get back into it and just have some fun. So we do that on the Sunday. The Monday comes, so it's our second day boarding, and I forgot to mention we're going to be boarding for 5 days. So we're going to have the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday boarding, and then the Friday fly home in the morning. So the Monday comes and we decide that that's the day we are going to pack in the miles. So we're going to go as far as we can, we're going to do as many runs as we can, maybe try and get to Switzerland, just see what happens, but we're going to do a lot of boarding. Just before 10:30 in the morning, we've been out for maybe an hour and a half or something like that, and we go to get on this chairlift. And this chairlift is really busy down the bottom. My dad actually gets a phone call while we're in the queue for the chairlift. So I said to my sister and her boyfriend that I was going to wait with my dad and they could go off and meet us at the top of the mountain. We'll meet them up there in a second. So they go off and I wait with my dad, and once he's off the phone, obviously we go on the chairlift, and we're put on there with random people. It's like a 4 or 5 man chairlift, so you just have to get on with whoever you can. So we go up, and as I go to get off the chairlift, I can't get off. And I realised that earlier in the day I'd taken one of my thermals off because I got too hot, and I tied it around my waist. And what happened was my dad had put his hand on my thermal to push himself off, but it meant that I couldn't get off. I'm like, Dad, you need to get off my thermal. That happened. We both managed to get off the chairlift, but I'm in a bit of a flaff at this point, so I'm not really concentrating what I'm doing. And in front of you, when you get off of a chairlift, there's like an orange fence that says like no parking here or something. So no one can stop in front of that, because that's pretty much as soon as you get off the chairlift, so you have to go to one side or the other. So I'm going like straight for it, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna crash. Bear in mind, this all happened in seconds. I'm not going fast, I'm going maybe 2 miles an hour at the fastest, but I see it in front of me, and because I was in such a flaff before, I'm just not concentrating what I'm doing. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna fall over, and I put my hand out to stop me from falling, and that is where the disaster happened. So as I fell, my whole body weight went onto this extended arm, and I felt that just come completely out of its place. So here's the ball, here's the socket. I felt the ball come straight out of the socket, and if I could describe the noise, I had a helmet on, it's quite noisy anyway, so I didn't really hear anything, but inside my arm, if that makes sense, I heard like 2 thuds. So it's like thud thud, and I knew straight away I'd either broken it or done some serious damage to it, because I could feel it. I knew that was out. I knew that was no longer, like, my arm was not in its shape anymore. I'd really hurt myself. So I'm calling my dad. I'm like, Dad, I've broken my arm. I'm trying not to panic, because I knew if I panicked it would just make the situation so much worse. So I'm trying to stay calm, but at the same time I know I've just broken my arm. I need to get off this mountain as soon as I can. So my dad, where I did it, there was actually like a med centre, which you can't go in there for anything, but there are first aid trained people in there. So he went and got them, they came out, and my dad actually said he could see that there was something really wrong, like through my coat. He knew I damaged it because he could see through the coat that it wasn't the right shape. So the first aiders, first thing they did was obviously like assess me, ask me where the pain was, what the pain was on a scale of 1 to 10. And I think I said something like 7. It was way more painful than that, but I didn't want to make a fuss. That sounds so bad because I was already making a fuss because I'd broken my arm. But I didn't want to make more of a fuss than I had to. So I was like, it's like a 7. Trying to stay calm, but I'm so hot now and I want to throw up, I want to pass out, I want to sleep all at the same time. Everything just seemed to happen. So anyway, they put something on my finger which helps to find your pulse, and he can't find a pulse. There is nothing going through, there is no blood flow going through, he can't get a pulse. So he says, we need to get a doctor up here immediately. I'm like, oh my god. I knew I'd done something bad, but I didn't realise it was going to be this bad. What they thought was going on was that there was a break somewhere which was blocking the blood flow, and obviously no blood flow just meant my forearm was dying at this point. At the time, this didn't really register in my head because I was so focused on the pain, but I knew something bad was happening because they were trying to call the doctor up immediately. So in my head, I'm like, he's going to put this thing back on top of this mountain. Like, I'm not going to have any medication for this. It's going to be horrific. And I'm just imagining all the things that were going to happen. So that kind of made me, it didn't make me forget about my arm, but I'm so focused on how bad this situation could potentially be in 10 minutes time. Anyway, so after about, I think, a minute and a half or something like that, they did find a pulse. So they were like, okay, we don't need the doctor up here anymore, but we do need to get you off the mountain as soon as we can. So what they say to me is, did you take out the extra insurance? In France, when you go skiing, you get the option to take out extra insurance on top of your holiday insurance. It's only €3 a day, so it's 100% worth doing, because what it does is it guarantees you off of the mountain. It doesn't matter where you are, what injury you have, it guarantees you off of this mountain. So my dad's like, yes, she took it out, we've got it. So they were like, okay, we're going to get a helicopter up here. A friggin' helicopter. So they called this helicopter, and I'm just like, this is so embarrassing right now. Although I'm in so much pain, I just want to get off this mountain. I didn't think a helicopter was the way I was going to go. But anyway, they call it, it comes up, and they're like piling me onto this stretcher. They get me into the helicopter. I'm the only person allowed in it because there's not enough space, so it's just me and the pilot. And I look out of the window, and there is, I kid you not, about 100 people standing there filming me on their phones. This, I can't even explain to you how embarrassing that was, to look out and see this audience just filming me getting into this helicopter. Oh my god. I'm laughing now, but at the time I was basically crying. Anyway, so we get down to the ground and they say, okay, we're going to transport you into an ambulance now to get you to the med centre. They get me in the ambulance, and one of the doctor people, she's like, okay, we need to fill out some forms. And I'm like, this bitch, like, my arm is not my arm right now. Forget about your forms, get me to hospital. I fill them out because I didn't want to make a fuss. I just filled them out, and they take me to the med centre, and I go in, and there's only me in there. I was expecting to walk in and it be like some sort of A&E where there's however many other people with God knows what injuries, but it's just me. And I'm like, okay. It's like something out of a movie. It was almost like an abandoned hospital because it's just me. So they take me into this room, and I meet the doctor and I meet the nurse, and they're very nice, and there's a bit of a language barrier because obviously they're French, we're English, but their English is very, very good. So I'm now thinking, how are they going to get my coat off? I don't want them to cut it off because I spent so much money on that coat. They were not going to cut that off. But very painfully, I managed to manoeuvre it off of me and get my thermal off. Thank God I was wearing a looser thermal, and the tight thermal I'd already taken off earlier that morning, because they definitely would have had to cut that off. So anyway, they got it off, and I looked at my arm and I'm like, I'm gonna pass out. This was not my arm. it was not this shape. My elbow was like somewhere over here, and if you don't like bones and stuff like that, then look away now, because I'm going to insert a picture of the x-ray here. So that was my arm. Imagine that from the outside. The elbow is somewhere over here. It's not this shape, and it just looks horrific. And I say to the nurse, I was like, I'm going to pass out. She was like, okay, have a seat, have a seat. And they sit me down and they say, right, we need to x-ray you. So obviously they do that, take the x-ray, which I just showed you. And he says, okay, there's no broken bones, but you've done a really good job of dislocating that, so we need to get it back in for you. And I'm like, well, duh. And I'm waiting for them to say, here's some gas and air, or here's some morphine, or here's some sort of pain medication. No. They gave me nothing. The stress of having to have my arm put back into place with no sort of pain medication, I can't even describe that to you. They lie me on the bed, and the whole time I'm like, where is this gas? I need it. But again, not making a fuss, I'm not asking for it because I don't want to seem like I'm being dramatic. They start moving my arm into all these different positions, and it is so painful. And this doctor's like, just relax. And I'm like, okay, when you pop your bone out, I'm just going to tell you to relax. It's not that simple. So they're moving it, they pull it down, they make it straight, and they push it back up. Bear in mind, because it was out of shape, I didn't have that movement on my own, so it was having to be forced like that. And as they pulled it back up, that's when I heard the, and so I knew it had gone back into place, but it didn't feel any different. It was still as painful. And then he said to me, okay, we're going to try and re-dislocate it. What? So the reason they do that is because if he can easily re-dislocate it, he hasn't put it back into the right place. So now they are trying to force my arm to come out of place again. The pain. I cannot describe this pain to you. It was horrendous. So once they find they can't dislocate it because they have put it into the right place, they're like, okay, we'll just take another x-ray and make sure that it's all fine. So he takes another x-ray, which I'm going to put here. It's all fine, it's in the right place, and he tells me we need to get a cast on you. This was the end of my holiday. I'm going home in a cast. The nurse then comes out and says to me, would you like some morphine? I think it's a bit late for morphine now, but I'm going to take it because I'm in so much pain anyway. So I take this morphine and they take me off to a separate room where they put me in a cast. And I don't have a picture of it or anything, but they put the cast on so my arm's in this shape, and then they cut the cast. It's a whole arm cast up to about here. They then cut a split down the cast for when I was to fly home, because obviously altitude and that, you swell on a plane, and so they didn't want my arm to be too compacted, so they did cut it to let it swell. And he said to me, okay, 5 days in a cast, when you get home, go straight to your doctor and get the cast taken off. So that's it, that is my holiday done. There is nothing I could do now. I'm not going to be snowboarding the rest of the year. That's it. That's my holiday over. So my parents came to pick me up, and I sort of say to them that I just want to go home now. There's no point me being here. Everyone, like the whole group that was there, was like, no, stay. And weighing it up, I was just like, well, if I stay, I'm going to be on my own all day. I'm not going to have anything to do. I'm just going to be miserable. I'd rather go home. And we've got animals at home, so I wanted to be with them anyway. So we booked a flight, and we had some friends out there at the same time, and their flight was actually on the Tuesday. So this accident happened on the Monday, our second day, and they were due to fly home on the Tuesday, other friends we had out there. So I just got on the flight with them and came home. This is pretty much where the story ends. It then just went into recovery process. I couldn't drive for about 4 to 6 weeks. I had to have physiotherapy, and I'm going to put some pictures in of the bruises that I had. So this first one is when I first got the cast taken off, how swollen my elbow was and what the bruise looked like. And then here's just some pictures of it. The bruise got worse before it got better, so I'll insert those now. Story time today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, click that subscribe button down below, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!